G'day there guys, Markee here, back again with another confusing episode of r/EntitledPeople. Now if you're going to get angry at today's episode, I encourage you to sit back, relax and enjoy the bloody good content. Posted by user Doctor Who All the Way, titled, "My entitled sister stole my engagement ring, today I found it. Long time ago. My now ex-husband proposes with a ring, gold with little platinum plate and itty-bitty diamond. It was cut and remade because I have very slim fingers. That left it with a patch visible on the inside, so it was unique. A month after, it just disappeared. I removed it before going to bed and left it on a little plate so not to lose it. But it was just gone. I threw the house upside down, even I ripped open vacuum cleaner bags and stalked my dog on his walk, just to make sure he did not eat it, and it was gone. Now years later, I found it at a pawn shop. I recognized it, and it still has a patch. I suspected my sister from a long time ago when she said, 'Well, you lost it. It's your fault. You were frivolous and stupid,' and never helped me look for it. I asked her for a price, and it was a lot. I wasn't planning on buying it, just out of curiosity. My sister will never admit to it. She'll be like, 'That's not your ring, it's someone else's, and I did not take it.' What a bear." Posted by user Moshi Mochi, titled, "Lady, I'm in high school. I work retail at a pretty big nationwide company, and the majority of my supervisors primarily pride themselves on our store looking nice both inside and out. Our store was looking pretty bad one day outside, with a ton of litter, and my manager asked my supervisor to sweep up and tidy up. Well, being the youngest employee there, I got stuck doing it. I'd taken out the trash and was sweeping up, when a little girl and her mum come walking out, and the little girl, who was an absolute cutie, points to me and asks her mum, 'Mum, why is she sweeping the dirt?' And I hear the mum reply, 'Well, honey, that's what happens when you don't go to college.' I'm 18 and I graduated from high school last week." Posted by user Doctor Who All the Way again. "My rat saves the day. This was a few years ago. I had a rat. Her name was Inky Pie. Yes, like a pony. She never liked carrier, but loves to travel under my hoodie. One day, I needed to take her to the vet. It was just a routine visit. She just had a cold and needed to check if she was unhealthy. The vet gave her an okay to go back to the cage with her sister pig, who was a hairless rat. I was wearing a medallion with an Eye of Horus on that day. When I was walking to my bus stop, some lady stopped me and asked if bus number so-and-so left from this stop. Then she sees my medallion. L is for lady, M is for me. Lady's like, 'That's a very nice thing. Where did you buy it?' 'Oh, the online shop, name of shop. My daughter has a birthday soon, so can you give it to me?' 'No, you can buy it yourself. Come on, if I buy it there, I don't know when it will arrive, and there's only so few days left.' Then she reached for it. Inky chose this moment to poke her head out of my collar. The lady screamed like a banshee and started running like the devil himself chased her. I just looked down at my ratty girl and I'm like, 'You're getting a cricket today.' This is how my rat saved my day." Posted by user Fred Z Red, titled, "Karen won't move, so my electric wheelchair will move Karen." You know those inconsiderate people that congregate in a high traffic area in a shop or a public area and are oblivious that they are in the way, and when a tap on the shoulder and an "excuse me" goes unnoticed. This was one of those occasions. Only they didn't account for me and my power wheelchair. My electric wheelchair is very powerful. I can easily drag heavy objects across the floor. As long as it's not bolted to the floor, I can move it. This includes people. Now, I'm not a violent or dangerous person, and I would never intentionally hurt someone with my chair, but that's not to say I'm afraid to show dominance or authority in certain situations if needed. This happened late last year in the good old days before COVID. I had a few things to do downtown and a bit of shopping to get done. I went to my local grocery store, Woolies for my fellow yobbos out there, to pick up the essentials. After I finished in the deli, I went in search of coffee and cat food. But as I rounded the corner, I saw about 6 people in a circle having a conversation and blocking the walkway. To their left was a wall, and to their right was a stocked shelf, and there was no way through them. I say, "Excuse me." Ignored. "Excuse me." Ignored. I tapped one of them firmly on the shoulder and said, "Excuse me." Again. Nothing. Instead of admitting defeat and going to the back of the store to get what I wanted, I'm stubborn. I wanted them to move so I could get past. I lightly tapped the back of the leg of one of them in front of my power chair in hopes of getting their attention. Let's call her Karen. No luck there either. So I kept easing my chair slowly forward, making sure I wasn't running over her foot or hurting her in the process. I edged her forward a few inches before she finally noticed I was there. "Oh my god, what are you doing? Can I please get past?" "What? Can't you see we're having a conversation? How dare you interrupt us? You're lucky I don't press charges for you running into me. Didn't your mum teach you better than that?" I'm slightly amused and I say, "My mum couldn't teach a fish to swim, but if she was here, she would have pushed you all out of the way already. I was being polite by asking you nicely to move, but clearly you're too wrapped up in your important conversation to acknowledge anyone else but yourselves. So I will ask you one last time, will you please move aside so I can get past?" By this point, the conversation stopped and they were all glaring at me like I was the rude one for wanting to get past them. Karen's like, "You should have waited for us to finish our conversation and not interrupted us." Pfft, kids these days. I'm 29, so not a kid, but either way, respect is earned, not given. You're in a public place, and you're blocking this area for everyone. Please be more respectful and considerate to everyone else, and maybe have your important conversations somewhere else. Just a suggestion. There was enough of a gap for me to escape through, so I took it. I could hear Karen and her cronies muttering something insulting as I was leaving, but I didn't feel like hanging around to hear it. Karen clearly had to stick up her pipes, and I didn't want to push it. Who knows what a wild Karen would do? Nothing else happened after that. I finished my shopping and went on my way. I know I didn't push my chair hard enough to hurt her, so please don't come at me for that. Karen was fine. Well, as fine as a Karen can get. The moral of the story, don't block a public space with your social gathering, do it in an area that's big enough to do so. I'm sure you've seen people do this, and if you're one of them, shame on you. Posted by user JC Stockwell. Titled, "Entitled Mum Thinks My Dog Is Hers, Calls the Cops." I totally forgot this happened until recently. This story is a couple years old. I rescued my dog from a pretty bad situation. I'll share his rescue story a bit later. Most likely on this subreddit, as his old owners didn't think that what they did was wrong. At this point, Huck is almost 7 years old, and I've had him for almost 6 years. I rescued him when he was a year old. I was playing with him in the field that was close to my house. A woman saw us and started walking closer to us. I put Huck back on a leash and started walking home, and she started following. Okay, no big deal, until she started talking to us. She's like, "Excuse me, that's my dog." I didn't realize she was talking to me. I don't know why, as I was the only one there, but obviously he was not hers. "Hey, that's my dog." I finally realized she was talking to me. No, he's not. I was 17 at the time, and I was really shy anyways, so I hated talking to people. "Yes, he is. Come here, Max." Huck completely ignored her. He only responds to his name. Huck isn't really a people person. He's a one-family dog. He really only loves his family. He's friendly, but isn't interested in meeting new people. My dog ran away last month, and that's him. Come here, baby. Then he's not yours. I've had him for 6 years now, but good luck finding your dog. Let's go. I started walking home, and she continues to follow me. She's on the phone, and I overheard her. "There's a girl stealing my dog." She called the cops. I went home, and she followed me. I told my mum. My mum's sister and twin brother came out. The cops came not long after that. I have complete records for Huck, including shots, neuter, microchip, etc. Once the cops show up, this woman starts screaming. "She stole my dog. She came into my property and stole him. I want my dog back. Give him back. He's mine." One cop manages to calm her down as the other one talks to us. He says, "What happened?" And I say, I was playing with my dog. She came up, started saying that he was hers, and followed me home. In retrospect, I probably shouldn't have shown her where I live, but I was scared and thought telling my mum was the best thing. We moved a few months later anyways. I had put Huck inside. The woman can't find proof that he was hers. We have vet records, pictures dating back all the way to 2011, etc. The last few months we lived there, she was always watching us and kept trying to call Huck over when he was off leash outside. He never went to her and never paid any attention to her. Posted by user Not So Prickly Cactus. Entitled Lady Demands I Listen to a Different Song on the Bus. This happened back in February, when my university was still open. I was late that morning, so I didn't bother to plug my earbuds in on my way to the bus stop. I figured I would just pick what I wanted to listen to on the bus, as it would be a waste of time. I ran, caught the bus, and started listening to my music. I happened to listen to K-pop and felt like listening that morning, so I did. I also did, however, forget to plug in my earbuds, and kept turning the volume up because I couldn't listen, until I realized it, and everyone was staring at me. Honest mistake, I was mortified and plugged them in to go on with my business. Everyone seemed to understand what had happened and left me alone. Everyone except the lady sitting next to me. She tapped on my shoulder and asked me to stop listening to that gibberish. I was confused, but thought she was expecting me to keep listening out loud, although I already had my earbuds in, and just said it was a mistake and I didn't mean to make everyone listen to my music. Well, apparently, she had understood that already, and started scolding me, very loudly may I add, about how stupid it was to listen to that I'm not saying that, and that I should be listening to my country's music, not that stupid music. I think it's important to add that I live in a country in Europe where a lot of songs on the radio played on the TV, etc. are in English. Also, not our country's music. She started getting louder and angrier, so I decided to put my earbuds back in and block her out. She decided that wasn't going to happen and ripped them from my ears, now calling me an entitled brat, saying I was disrespecting her and our country, I should be ashamed, and so on and so forth. I was nearly in tears at this point, since I don't deal well with people screaming at me, so I left on the next stop, which was way too early, and walked the rest of the way. I wish this had a satisfying ending and I had put her in her place, but I honestly just wanted to get out of there as soon as I could. I thought I would never have to deal with a person like this. There is no way people like that existed. But I guess life just keeps surprising me. Edit, fixed a typo. Edit 2, I'm just going to add here, since I maybe wasn't clear when explaining it, so people keep asking. I wasn't listening to music out loud on the bus stop or the bus on purpose. I only started playing music when I was already on the bus. I forgot to plug the earbuds in, so it played out loud for no more than 10 seconds or something before I realized it and plugged my earbuds in. I know basic manners. I'd never be playing music out loud in a public place on purpose. It was just an accident. Posted by user KBN911, titled, I'm 1/16th Cherokee. I hope this fits here because it's one of my favorite things I've ever been told in my life. This isn't my story. It happened to an old teacher on his senior skip day, and I'll do my best to tell it exactly as I was told. Friend 1 is F1, friend 2 is F2, friend 3 is F3. For senior skip day, all 3 friends decided to go on a hike up a mountain. That morning, they met up in the parking lot. F1 was smart and brought multiple water bottles with him. F2 wasn't as smart, but he found an empty bottle in his car and filled it at the water fountain. F3 said he was 1/16th Cherokee and he would be okay. They made it to the top without much issue, but after one of them almost literally fell off the mountain, they decided to head back down. Well, on the way down, friend 3 got thirsty and asked for one of F1's now empty bottles. He had found what he called a stream, when in reality it was a stagnant algae-filled puddle. As he was filling the bottle, F1 said, I wouldn't drink that if I were you. You might get dysentery. F3 said he was 1/16th Cherokee and he would be okay. The others shrugged and let him do what he wanted. Come Monday, F2 was waiting in the cafeteria for his friends, when F1 came in alone. F2's like, hey, where's F3? F1's like, oh, he's in the hospital. He has dysentery. Can you imagine being entitled enough to believe your ethnicity prevents deadly bacteria? Yikes. Posted by user Klondike Bar Utopia. Titled, Idiot Dad Puts Entire Maternity Ward in Danger. So this was actually on the news here. This happened in Rochester, New York. Didn't happen directly to me, but my brother's girlfriend, Jay. So, Jay is a nurse in the maternity ward. Basically, she helps women give birth. This was back in March or April, I believe, when people had only just started to realize coronavirus was the real deal. So one night, Jay is working with this one woman and the dad isn't there. Not at first. The new mum says he has the symptoms of corona and can't come up. She's like, that makes sense, and leaves it alone. Guess who just would not stay home? The dad faked some symptoms so he could pass hospital security, and he made his way up to the maternity ward to see his wife and kid. People found out, and he got kicked out. He essentially put the entire ward at risk of corona. He could have frickin' killed his kid. The next day, Jay had a bad fever. She got tested and thankfully didn't have corona, but it was scary AF. Posted by user Savage Inc. Studios. Titled, Entitled Stepmonster Shaves My Head to Get Back at My Mom. Stepmonster Vanessa, Story 1. A little backstory before we jump into the main bit. My parents split up when I was 2, and both immediately paired up with the nightmares I would be then stuck with for these next 16 years. Both of my parents' new partners were horribly abusive in different ways, but this story focuses on my real-life wicked stepmother. We'll call her Vanessa. Something you should all know about my father is that he was not an involved parent. Before me, he had 2 other children with different women that he never saw, so it made sense when my parents broke up that I went to live with my mum. She made a lot of bad choices, but we actually had a relationship, and I felt like she loved me. My dad and I, however, did not have a close relationship at all. When he started dating Vanessa, we met and she seemed normal enough, but after they got married, things started to change. Vanessa hated my mother. Maybe because she was younger, maybe because she was more attractive, maybe because she was my dad's ex, or maybe it was just because Vanessa was a truly hateful person. But the real reason doesn't matter. What does matter is that after marrying my dad, Vanessa had it out for my mum. What's one of the worst things you can do to a mother? Take her child and turn that child against them. And that is exactly what Vanessa tried to do. She convinced my dad to take my mum to court and to rip me away from my family. The courts eventually decided to give primary custody of me to my father because my mother had 2 other children, one with a disability, and my dad and Vanessa made more money. Vanessa did try for a long time to turn me against my mother, but I was utterly devoted. My mum and her other 2 and then 3 children were the only family I had ever known, and I loved them with everything I was. No amount of trash-talking my other family or trying to win me over there were successful. So when Vanessa realized she couldn't hurt my mother that way, she tried another tactic. She was going to treat me as badly as legally she could, and rub it in my mum's face. That is when this story actually starts. My mum was very gothy, and I idolized her, so naturally I wore as much black as I was allowed to, and was very excited to grow up and have dyed gothy hair and tattoos and tons of piercings. When I was 10 years old, my mum bought me my very first bottle of semi-permanent black hair dye. I was so excited, but I told her, "Mum, I don't think Vanessa will let me dye my hair. She wants me to look normal for church. She won't even let me wear black clothes on Sunday." My mum's response was something along the lines of, "Vanessa can eat a big fat weenie. If this is what you want, this is what we're going to do. Don't ever let people like her tell you who you are allowed to be or what you're allowed to look like. You are your own person." And I felt that in my heart. Vanessa hated everything about what made me the person I was anyway. How much worse could black hair possibly make it? Never ask how much worse a situation can get, guys, because the universe will be there winding up the most wicked curveball you've ever seen to show you just how much worse it can get. And that is exactly what happened. I returned to my father's home with sleek, shiny blue-black hair, soft and thick and all the way down past my waist. And Vanessa ordered my dad to take me to the barber and have it all shaved off. My father took me and held me down while I kicked and screamed and cried, "No, please don't cut my hair," while the barber gave me a buzz cut. I was traumatized, my mum was traumatized, and Vanessa hated dragging an already masculine little girl to church with no hair. But over time, I adjusted and decided to use it against Vanessa. I never grew my hair out to a normal girl's length again and bleached and dyed it every color under the sun. Because what's the worst she could do to me? Shave it off? I really like that. Edited. I'm 26 now. I've been out of the house since I turned 18, and a lot of people are asking why the barber agreed to do this. He was a close family friend of Vanessa's, and she paid him very well. My dad ended up telling me years later that the barber looked really uncomfortable and didn't seem like he wanted to, though that obviously didn't stop him. Posted by user Pebble Mist, titled, "Entitled Mum Pulls Kid Out of Preschool After Being Explained the Legally Required Procedures for a Lice Epidemic." So I work in a preschool, and you would think I get a lot of interaction with entitled parents, but honestly I don't. Most of our parents are great and willing to work with us to help help their kids in the best ways possible. This was not one of those parents. In light of COVID-19, quite a few of our parents made the decision to pull their kids, whether they had lost their jobs or were working from home, or had some immunocompromised at home. Wise decisions that I don't blame them for, but left many seats open for more kids to be enrolled. Our cast are entitled mum, little boy, little girl, director of the preschool, basically in charge of everything when the owner isn't around. So, entitled mum calls and enrolls her 2 kids in the school, a 5-year-old boy and a 2, almost 3-year-old girl. Bad kids. Little boy tries to run out of the school after his mum, had to carry around a blanket, which is not allowed, and refuses to eat the food we provide and behaves worse than our 1-year-olds. Little girl was a bit better, prone to the same temper tantrums, hitting, and had to carry around a baby Moana doll, also not allowed. We gave her the benefit of the doubt though. Entitled mother claims there was no way, but she was very clearly displayed signs of being on the autism spectrum. Either way, they're there for about a week, give or take a few days, for little boy who refused to come and was kept home with someone else, when the little girl is one of multiple kids who got sent home with nits. Now, according to our latest DCF, Department of Children and Families, check-in, we are one of the cleanest, still operating childcare facilities in the county. However, in any childcare environment, lice is an inevitable consequence of having a whole bunch of kids around. It's no fault of anybody's, it's just a fact of life. Most parents understand that. The procedure for any isolated case of lice is that when the child returns to the school, the parent must give proof that the child was treated. A picture or receipt for the bottle of treatment, the recipe for a home remedy, etc. The child is checked to make sure they're clean, everything is documented, and life goes on. So, it's the next day, and entitled mother, little boy, and little girl are some of the first few kids in the door, despite being the last to go home. Entitled mother shows Dee a video on her phone of her treating little girl's head. You're gonna have to send me that so I can figure out how to add it to the documentation. Entitled mother starts getting pissy at this point. I come back from making my breakfast smoothie in the kitchen and sign the kids in and escort them to seats, taking their blankets and putting them in their cubbies and keeping little boy from trying to get up and run out the door while Dee explains the next steps to entitled mother. Dee says, "So we had kids from 7 different families sent home with lice yesterday. Any more than 2 and I have to call the health department." Entitled mother is getting tense. She's like, "What? I don't understand. You need to explain." At this point, Dee clears her throat and takes a drink of water. This sets entitled mother off further for some reason. Dee says, "We had kids from 7 different families sent home with nits yesterday. That is considered an epidemic. For the next 18 days, we have to do daily head checks and monitor the number of children with lice. If the number goes down, then we're all good. But if the number goes up, the health department will get involved and go to the houses of the kids with lice to rule them out as the source of the bugs before the blame is shifted to us as a facility. Entitled Mother storms over and yanks little girl out of her chair by the arm. Oh no, my kids are not going to stay here. You're not going to get an attitude with me and accuse my kids of causing all of this. Ma'am, what are you talking about? That's not at all what I meant. You know what I'm talking about. You've been extremely rude to me and you're accusing me of bringing lice here, and I'm leaving. Let's go, little boy. Wait, have a nice day. And she slams the door behind her. This was 2 days ago. As far as I know, none of the staff has heard from her since. It's a shame. Little girl is adorable despite her tantrums, and I'll kind of miss her. I sincerely hope Entitled Mother wakes up and realizes she's very likely on the spectrum and is able to adapt to her needs. G'day there guys, outro Markee here. Hope you enjoyed the episode as much as I enjoyed making it today. If you did, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. Tell me what you thought about it down below. Also, if you like memes, be sure to head on over to my second channel, Markee 2. It should be one of the sexy Australian faces on screen, the one without the flag. It's my latest and greatest creation, and I hope you like it. Also, I'd like to give a huge shout out to my channel members and Patreon subscribers. You guys do so much good for me, and the support goes without saying, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I love you guys, and I appreciate all the help and support you provide me on this channel. Also, if you want to join the family, links are down in the description below, or click that join button next to the subscribe button. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed that one today. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!